Hello, everyone. Hello. This is Alexandra Levine live with the America's Pulse Network. We are all in tonight with me, Alexandra Levine. We have so much breaking news to get to. But first, there was a huge volcano that erupted violently in Sicily, Italy at Mount Etna. It just happened moments ago. We are praying for any victims. We are praying for people that had to run from that eruption. There was huge volcanic ash all over that area. I have been to Italy. I haven't been to Mount Etna. But again, our hearts go out to people that were running for their lives after that volcanic eruption. Now, big breaking news. As you know, President Trump is trying to get Congress to pass his new big, beautiful bill act, which he says will help we the people. It's about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. Just in Senate Finance, Republicans will meet with President Trump tomorrow on the big, beautiful bill. Time to get it done. But Hakeem Jeffries, who's the minority speaker, the Democrat, anti-Semite, he voted to keep taxpayer-funded Medicaid benefits flowing to 1.4 million illegals by opposing the One Big Beautiful Bill. Think about that. He wants illegals to have health care. He wants illegals to stay on the government system. As you know, it is illegal to give an illegal health care. There's rhino Republicans all over this country that voted to give health care to illegals. It's insane. It's insane. Nothing that Hakeem Jeffries says you should take seriously. But also breaking is that Representative Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says, quote, "I will vote for every single DOGE cut. Republicans must break the cycle." Speaker Johnson said today that the House will bring the package to the floor as quickly as possible, $9.4 billion. But this is very important that finally, DOGE is going to be used in all states nationwide. It's actually the state lawmakers that are implementing DOGE. It's the state legislators that are finally saying we need DOGE in our state. And we are going to cut the waste, fraud, and abuse. And instead of a lot of things that should be happening in that big, beautiful bill, and as President Trump, Stephen Miller, others have said, Caroline Levitt said today at the White House, and they've said it throughout Congress and throughout their social media platforms, this big, beautiful bill, what it does is it helps our military, but also helps we the people. It actually increases finances for ICE agents, for Border Patrol, so we can get rid of these illegals and remove them out of our country permanently. We have too many. We have 21 million that Joe Biden put into this country. Actually, it started with Barack Hussein Obama. Also, campaign promise that President Trump made is that no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That is also in the bill. Now, Elon Musk, he is not upset with President Trump. He's more upset at Congress for putting pork into the bill. House Republicans at the last minute, they threw a bunch of pork in the bill before they all voted for it. Now it's the Senate Republicans' job. It's the Senate's job to go in there and to revive the bill, revise it. And people are saying it should go back to the original bill before the pork was put in at the last minute. So if people are thinking that, President Trump and Elon Musk are at odds end. No, Elon Musk expressed to President Trump before his concerns of this bill. And remember, President Trump says we need to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse. That's why Elon Musk was put in there to run DOGE. Now that Elon Musk is gone, now it's the states that are actually doing the job. The states are saying we need DOGE in our state to cut the waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's what's happening. State lawmakers in a growing number of states have filled the void and are rapidly codifying DOGE, the word is codifying DOGE, and they're actually putting together a piece of legislation called the REINS Act. The REINS Act is going to codify DOGE to have the states, have DOGE go into the states and pull out the waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what President Trump campaigned on. That's why President Trump put Elon Musk in charge of DOGE. And that is why when Elon Musk, now his contract is done with DOGE, he's having his people still stay there in DOGE, and DOGE will continue to do the work of the people. DOJ will continue to pull out the waste, fraud, and abuse from the states. There's a lot of states, especially liberal states, that have major waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's what's important here, guys. Also, breaking news. President Trump announces that he is working to withhold all federal funding from any sanctuary city. Let me repeat that. President Trump announces that he is working to withhold all federal funding from any sanctuary city. Baltimore City, you're a sanctuary city. Goodbye. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Brandon Scott, goodbye. Zeke Cohen, who's the president, or not the president, I was right. He's the Baltimore City Council president, who lies to the people of Baltimore City and says that the crime is low there, and says that people are moving to Baltimore City and people are moving into in Maryland in drones. No, just the opposite. Just the opposite. This is crazy. This is crazy. People that live and run sanctuary cities, they should be afraid. They should be afraid. You know why? Because you're not going to get your federal funding, and it's going to look bad on you. And we, the people, won't stand for it, and we, the people, will vote you out. You need to be voted out. Brandon Scott needs to be charged. Zeke Cohen needs to be charged. All of these liberal mayors, people that live in sanctuary states, sanctuary counties, sanctuary cities, they're hurting we, the people. And they're going against President Trump's executive orders. There's multiple Republican congressmen that have asked to codify President Trump's executive orders. It's very important. It's very important that we codify President Trump's executive orders. It's also very important that we codify DOJ. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. She said, I will vote for every single DOJ cut. Republicans must break the cycle. So the story goes is that Elon Musk isn't getting everything that he wanted in the big, beautiful bill. But as a result, the states are working with DOJ to get rid of the waste, the fraud, and the abuse. The people want to have faith in Congress. They want to have faith in the Senate that you will dissect this bill, you will make it the original bill, you will cut spending so we can get our national debt down. People are concerned that this bill doesn't cut the national debt down enough and that we're still going to end up spending trillions of dollars and increasing our national debt. That's why President Trump is going to see the Senate Finance Republicans tomorrow to talk about how we can get this bill perfect and how it will be ready for him to sign before 4th of July. He has a deadline. He wants to get this signed by the 4th of July. And that's the breaking news. Now going into our first segment. More breaking news with the first segment. Starting with the first slide. The breaking witnesses say the suspect in the Colorado attack hurled Molotov cocktails at participants. So what happened was there was people that were standing for Israel that were asking for the release of the hostages. I've done many of these rallies. I've done them with Fred Profiter and Seth Eisenberg from the conservative corner. And what happened was this crazy illegal Muslim from Egypt. We found out he's a part of the Muslim Brotherhood. He made Molotov cocktails and threw them at the people to the point where he actually burned a Holocaust survivor. There was people there ages 52 to 88. It is reported that 12 have been seriously injured and that this guy, there's major counts against him. He will be tried to the fullest extent of the law. He already has, I think, like up to 500 years in jail for what he did. But I say, why keep his ass in the Colorado jail? Send his ass to El Salvador. Send his ass to Kuwait, Iran. Send his ass to a jail that will be so heinous to this man. He does not deserve to be in a Colorado jail cell living off the taxpayer dollars. He could have murdered a lot of people the other day. Who the hell brings Molotov cocktails? Also, it was a gun-free zone. There wasn't enough security for this rally. The people that were at the rally, they should have been carrying. Every Jew now should be carrying a firearm. I've said that before. I'm saying it now. Now, when I do rallies with Fred and Seth, we make sure that we have full security protection with us. We have people from Frederick County, Frederick City that come, police department. We have people incognito with firearms. We don't mess around. You have to make sure that your environment is secure. Unfortunately, that environment in Colorado and Boulder was not secure. And that's why that moron did what he did. And he knew that that event was happening. He knew there was going to be a lot of Jews there, and he was there to kill Jews, just like that a-hole did in DC when he killed 2 innocent lives. And there's a reason why this happened. Our next slide, forced moments. 4 years ago, Ahmad al-Issa walked away. And it showed that the authorities knew, they knew that this was going to be a foreshadow to what was coming in the future. I've said before that after October 7th, we have to keep our wits about us because there could be an October 7th happening in America. We don't want that to happen under President Trump. I know that will never happen. But the more that these radical Islamist a-holes are in our country, more of this crap is going to happen. And what it'll do is it'll prevent people from rallying for Israel. It'll prevent people from going to events to support Israel. And that's what I don't want either. I don't want us to stop fighting for Israel. And I don't want us to stop fighting for the release of the hostages. If you love Israel, if you support Israel, you have to do these events. You have to do these rallies. I can tell you that the events and rallies that I did with Fred Profiter and Seth Eisenberg, they made noise. They made traction. I put together our first hashtag Jexit rally in May 2019 on the steps of Congress on Capitol Hill. I combated the HR 183 simple resolution, which was actually, it was passed. It was a terrible resolution. It was supposed to combat Ilhan Omar and combat her anti-Semitic rhetoric. And it was a very it wasn't even the bill that it should have been or the resolution it should have been. I worked with Congressman Lee Zeldin. I worked with my Congressman Greg Steube to write a better resolution, which was passed later on. But we had about 25 plus speakers that day with a crowd of young kids behind us. And we stood on the grounds and I talked all about this, how never again means never again means now. I combated Linda Sarsour. I combated Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Bernie Sanders. I have no fear. And it was a very effective rally. Breitbart, they actually recorded the entire rally, which doesn't happen. They usually just record Trump rallies. They were there the full 4.5 hours of the rally. We had 685,000 people viewing in just 1 hour. You can still see it. If you go to YouTube and click Jexit Rally, Breitbart, it's right there. You can listen to my speech. My speech was 13 minutes long. I've actually been posting it recently on my Facebook and social media platforms. But we have to stand up and we have to rise up against this evil, against this hate. And then we're finding out today, breaking news, that the White House just confirmed that Mohammed Solomon, that was the moron's name, his wife, who was also illegal, and his 5 kids will be deported tonight. So we're finding out that his kids were illegals. One of his daughters was actually admitted to a couple colleges. Why are you admitting an illegal to college? That's illegal. Illegals can't go to college. Illegals are getting into college more than legal citizens? An illegal is getting into a Florida college more than a legal citizen? That's craziness. Now, the question is, where is the family going to be deported to? Are they going to be deported to Egypt, where they're from, or Kuwait? Because I think some of the children were born in Kuwait. Now, the Egyptian al-Sisi, who heads it, he got rid of the Muslim Brotherhood when Obama was in power, because when Obama was in power, he brought the Muslim Brotherhood into the White House and opened up the Arab Spring. He got rid of Hosni Mubarak and put in the Muslim Brotherhood. And then a year later, the Egyptian government took back their country, and now the Muslim Brotherhood does not reign in Egypt. So I don't think al-Sisi wants a former Muslim Brotherhood or a former Muslim Brotherhood's family in his country. I have a funny feeling they're going to Kuwait. But I know President Trump talked about taking him to El Salvador or a very heinous area for them to live out their lives. I know he talked about getting rid of Mr. Solomon out of American prison and into a very heinous prison overseas, which I believe we should do. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But I'm glad that the White House listened to other influencers, other political influencers outside to revoke these people's visas. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem did that. Marco Rubio did that. And they're going to be deported tonight. So that's a good thing. I'm very happy about that. Very happy about that. But a little bit more information about this guy, the Boulder attacker. Let's put up the third slide. Boulder attacker exclusive. He was 42 years old. He was in the country illegally. A senior U.S. official confirmed. He's an Egyptian national, Muslim Brotherhood, who arrived during the Biden administration in a B-2 visa and never returned home. Never should have been allowed in our country to start with. He comes into our country illegally in 2022, and then he obtains a worker's visa. And guess what? His worker's visa is expired. Isn't that lovely? He was living here on an expired visa. As you know, Marco Rubio has cracked down, and so has Pam Bondi, and said, if you are here on an expired visa, you're out of here. You're out of here. Goodbye. Goodbye. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that this man was living here. Again, under Joe Biden, and even before that, Barack Hussein Obama, they brought in 21 million illegals. Majority of them were illegal terrorists. The Mossad, which is the Israeli CIA and FBI, they warned the Biden administration that there was illegal terrorists coming into our country from Syria, from Lebanon, from Afghanistan. The Mossad actually reported illegal Syrian refugees across the border. I've said it before. I have a residence in Montgomery County, Maryland. There's a bunch of illegals that live there. There's Sanctuary County. Howard County is a sanctuary county. Queen Anne's County, Talbot County, Baltimore County is a sanctuary county, and Arundel County is a sanctuary county. You can pretty much call Maryland a sanctuary state. PG County is a sanctuary county, and then you have Baltimore City, which is a sanctuary city. It's disgusting. That's why President Trump wants to get rid of these sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties. It should be illegal to even have them. And the Democrats are crying for these illegals. You know why? Because they need them. These illegals vote for them. Because in these states such as Maryland, they do not require photo ID to vote. So when you have a bunch of illegals voting for you, it's great. When you have a bunch of 15, 16, 17-year-olds voting for you, it's awesome. The fact that you have crazy illegal terrorists that have come into our country, they were the ones that started the rise of anti-Semitism on college campuses and universities. Thank God that Marco Rubio is revoking their visas. And some of these people aren't even students of the school. They're 31, 32-year-olds. They were bought and paid for by George Soros, an anti-Jew Jew, with his disgusting son, Alex Soros, who's engaged to Huma Abedin, who was married to Anthony Weiner. See the cycle? We also found out that Alex Soros is gay. That's why you have Queers for Palestine. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. But I'm so happy the DHS and my friend Border Czar Thomas Homan and Marco Rubio and Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel are getting to the bottom of this. And they are removing these illegal criminals out of our country. That's why the big, beautiful bill is so important to pass. Because what it'll do is it'll provide more resources for ICE, DHS, and Border Patrol, and Border Czar Thomas Homan to go in there and do their job even better than they're doing now. The border crossings are low under Thomas Homan and President Trump. I think they're at 94%. That's amazing. In just a very short period of time. President Trump hasn't even been there for a year. I was literally on the border between two administrations. Under the Trump administration, his first term, I would talk to Border Patrol and ICE. They said, nobody's crossing the border illegally. They don't want to do it. They're scared because they know if they do, they're going to go to jail. Or they're going to be sent, actually not go to jail, they're going to be sent back to their country. But under the Biden administration, Border Patrol and ICE were nervous and scared because they knew that Biden was going to break the law. They knew that his administration was going to break the law. Remember, Biden didn't control anything. We're still trying to get to the bottom of the auto pen. Who was in charge of the auto pen? There's suspicions that it was Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, Fakeahontas. Now there's suspicions that it was Joe Biden's staff her chief of staff, Anthony Bernhal, and a lot of people that worked under Jill Biden. There's suspicions that it was Jill Biden herself. And Caroline Leavitt has actually called upon Jill Biden to actually apologize to we the people for lying about her husband's health. The fact that all of a sudden he woke up and now he has very aggressive stage 4 prostate cancer is asinine and insane. We all know that he was sick from the beginning, that he had early signs of dementia from the beginning, even when he was running in the Democrat primary. Kamala Harris knew, her husband knew, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Barack Obama, George Soros, they all knew. Even James Comey probably knew. I'm sure some rhinos and Democrats knew. There's actually been foreign leaders that have come out and said that they knew. Kevin McCarthy has come out and said, yeah, I talked to Joe Biden and he was so out of it. I could tell there was something off. These people lied to us. They have to be held accountable. And I'm telling you, this story is not just going to go away. These people spied on President Trump's campaign. These people tried to kill President Trump. It's very important that we get to the bottom of this. It's very important that Congress, the House Republicans, the Senate Republicans, they work together to implement President Trump's agenda because we, the people, gave them a mandate. President Trump wants this bill passed. He doesn't want any grandstanders, limelighters. You do have great congressmen and great senators that are working to push this bill. But again, this is not President Trump's fault. The Senate wants to go in and they want to see if they can cut out the pork that the House Republicans put in there at the last minute. House Republicans, some of them did put pork in at the last minute. And of course, Democrats always put their damn pork in there. But I do have faith that when this bill is passed, it will be good for we the people. Again, it is an expansion of the Trump tax cuts, which helped a lot of people, not the billionaires, helped a lot of the middle class. President Trump always talked about how the middle class is the backbone of our nation, how we have to help them. Our manufacturing jobs, we need to bring them back. Everything needs to be made back in the USA. Buy American, hire American. President Trump has helped the manufacturing significantly since he's taken office. Manufacturing jobs are now up, as opposed to under Joe Biden, manufacturing jobs were down, federal government employee work was up. People were being hired into the federal government left and right. Under Doge, he fired a lot of federal employees. He mostly fired the ones that attacked President Trump on social media, that attacked his administration, and were lazy and didn't want to go to work. Those were the people that got fired. People that were on probation, they got fired. You don't want to come in and do the work, you get fired. It's that simple. I told you, President Trump's not messing around. He's going to get to the bottom of this. So again, President Trump, he's going to be meeting with the Senate Republican Finance Committee tomorrow. And they're going to talk it out and he's going to say, how can we make this bill so that you guys will pass it? What do we have to fix? What do we have to do? What do we have to change to make it so that everybody's happy? So we get the majority, because he's ready to sign it. Again, a lot of the things that are in this bill is what he campaigned on. We're going to find out who really supports President Trump's agenda and who doesn't. We're going to find out who the Trump loyalists really are. Again, President Trump is tired of the rhinos, the never-Trumpers, and the snowflakers of the Republican Party. And of course, he's tired of the Democrats. I know there are some moderate Democrats that are actually crossing over, working bipartisan with Republicans. There's a lot of moderate Democrats that are thinking of hashtag leaving the Democrat Party and becoming Republicans because they feel that the Democrat Party doesn't resonate with them. And unfortunately, the leaders of the Democrat Party are these socialist a-holes like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Rashid Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. That's become the head of the the head of the Democrat Party. And these are the minority. It's a small minority trying to be the majority. but they're involved with some pretty bad actors, such as George Soros and Louis Farrakhan, who heads the Nation of Islam. They're all interconnected. All interconnected. So President Trump is trying to make the minority as silent as possible, so that he can get the job done for we the people, and that we the people are happy. Coming up after the break, we have our next segment. We're going to be talking about Joe Biden, auto pen, and also never forget what the Democrats are doing to you. And that'll be right after the break.
This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with Alexandra Levine Live on the America's Pulse Network. You are all in with Alexandra Levine. We are still waiting for someone from the White House to come out and tell us what transpired between President Trump and Vladimir Putin on that call today. We are here live at the White House. We're waiting for White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to come out and tell us about the updates of today, the call between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, what transpired in that call.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
And hello, everyone. It's me, Alexandra Levine, live with the America's Pulse Network. Segment 2 tonight. Was Joe Biden a robot? We're going to give you that first slide. Never forget, Democrats wanted you to see President Trump murdered by a headshot on live TV. President Trump held 96 rallies in 2024. CNN aired only one, Butler, Pennsylvania, on July 13th, 2024. And that's the truth. That is the truth. That the Democrat Party and many others, and probably our government, had a lot to do with trying to kill President Trump. Now, the interesting thing is that nobody's really exposed what happened in Butler in July. I know that President Trump is going to release the file, but we hardly know anything about the shooter. We know more about the Boulder attacker than we do about the person who actually shot President Trump. We don't really know much about the second guy who tried to kill President Trump near his golf course at Mar-a-Lago. Why is that? What are they hiding? I used to say that if they can't get him in jail, if they can't get him in prison, then they're going to try to kill him. It's really sad. And I remember when I heard about what happened in Butler, it was the first time I had not watched the rally live. I was driving and I was talking to my friend Kim Stansberry, and all of a sudden my family, because we're on a whole group chat together, my aunt said, "Oh my God, President Trump's been shot." And I was like, "Oh my God." And I got off the phone with Kim and I was texting my family. I said, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" And they're like, "No." And the first thing I said was he wearing his MAGA hat? Because if he wasn't wearing his MAGA hat, he would have been a goner. Thank God that the chart lady put up the chart in the beginning of the rally, not towards the end. Thank God that he turned his head the way that he did, so that we don't watch him die on TV. And then he gets up and he goes, "Fight, fight, fight," to show that he will not be defeated. And that's when Elon Musk endorsed President Trump. Joe Rogan saw a different side of President Trump. A lot of people saw a different side of President Trump that day. I always knew President Trump. I always knew the type of man he is. But the fact that the deep state, the Democrat machine, wanted this man dead before he took office, and don't be surprised if they're still working on it. I mean, President Trump is heavily guarded now. He's got more Secret Service than any living president. But these people are evil. These people are extremely evil. But President Trump, he retruthed something really interesting. As you know, a lot of people didn't think that Joe Biden was in the White House, controlling the White House. He had dementia, advanced stage 4 prostate cancer. People are saying that there's different Joe Bidens, or that Joe Biden was put into a picture. He was photoshopped in a picture. Remember, the guy hid in his basement for 4 years when he was campaigning. Didn't really see him. So President Trump put up something really interesting. We'll put up the second slide. So President Trump, and if you can't see it, I'll kind of summarize it for you. There is no hashtag Joe Biden. Joe Biden was executed in 2020. Biden clones doubles and robotic engineered. He's not the first person that has come out and said that. There's other Trump supporters that have said the same thing, that they think that Joe Biden is a clone. They think there's multiple different Joe Bidens, or they think he died and they turned him into a robot, because the artificial intelligence is very advanced now, more so than ever. It's very advanced. They're actually talking about AI in the big, beautiful bill. But that's interesting. That makes you think, who was the guy in the Oval Office? Then there was reports that he didn't even go into the Oval Office, that he rented a place in a different state to kind of replicate the Oval Office. Because again, he was a Manchurian candidate. Also, he was not sworn in real time. A president is sworn in at 12:01 p.m. on January 20th. He was not. He was sworn in a few minutes before. Then they said it was a pre-recorded swearing in. And they said that everybody that was there for the, quote, inauguration swearing in, they were all complicit in knowing what was going on. We all know that the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump. He knows it. We all know it. If you notice, when President Trump was sworn in, it was direct protocol. J.D. Vance gets sworn in first. 3 minutes later, President Trump gets sworn in. That's protocol. And there was no recording. It was in real time. And I would watch, different looks of the White House when, quote, Joe Biden was in there. How the windows are very different than when President Trump was there. How when Joe Biden went up to the podium to speak, some people said that it was a green screen behind him to make it look like he was in the Oval Office. And then Alina Habba, who's now the interim attorney in New Jersey, she actually exposed where Joe Biden was when he spoke to reporters. It was like a weird room that they created just for him. But he wasn't actually speaking to reporters face to face. So was Joe Biden really in the White House? Was Joe Biden really the president of the United States? Now, I've told you on this show, I will never, ever call him the president. I've never accepted him as the president. I will never accept Kamala Harris as the vice president. I've said that many times. But President Trump knows that there were shenanigans going on for 4 years. President Trump knows that Joe Biden was not the guy calling the shots. There's even questions of certain signatures on documents as well. Was it Joe Biden's penmanship, or was it somebody else? Was it Jill Biden's? Was it Joe Biden's chief of staff? It's very telling, very telling. That guy was so out of it. Didn't know where he was. All these executive orders that they put out for him. And he, quote, signed. They're saying because he wasn't a legitimate president, everything he signed is null and void. They said that he wasn't coherent when he appointed the Supreme Court justice, the liberal woman that's on there now. And if it turns out that Barack Hussein Obama was not born in this country, which a lot of people don't think he was, a lot of people say that his birth certificate was fraudulent, everything that he put into law is null and void. And I'm telling you, Barack Obama is the main target. That is who President Trump is coming for. Barack Obama came for Trump. Trump is now coming for him. That's why President Trump had to be back in the Oval Office. That's why he means business. That's why his wife dresses the way that she does now. She wears business suits. She is all business, no BS. She's not going to get taken advantage of again. People tried to take advantage of her. Not again. But I pose a question to my audience. I pose a question to my viewers. Do you think Joe Biden was executed in 2021? Do you think he's dead? Do you think he's a robot, a clone, robotic engineered? President Trump put that out there. You know, he puts things out there to get a rise out of people, to get them to think. So let's see. I'd be very curious and very interested to see if he is a robot, if he was robotically engineered. But I'm telling you, Joe Biden was not the president of the United States. Kamala Harris was not the vice president. Kamala Harris was not the Democratic nominee for president either. She didn't get one single vote. She didn't even campaign. It's crazy. And Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, he's an idiot. He calls for actions to be taken against President Trump. He threatens him every day. He's a crazy. Nobody takes him seriously. Remember, Governor Walz's family, they all endorsed President Trump. They all went to the RNC convention. They had shirts, Waltz for Trump. It's hilarious. Isn't that sad when your own family doesn't even support you or endorse you? It's pathetic. President Trump revitalized the Republican Party, but he revitalized America. He's revolutionizing America as we speak. He got people that would never vote for him to vote for him. He got Democrat rappers that called for his assassination to actually change parties and vote for him, like Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg loves the Make America Healthy Again. He was part of the Make America Healthy Again gala days before the inauguration. Joe Rogan, a big Democrat, endorsed President Trump. That was because of Elon Musk. RFK Jr. left the Democrat Party because of President Trump, and also because he saw the Democrat Party was not the party that he knew, was not the party of his father and his uncle and his family. And RFK Jr. took a lot of heat because a lot of his close personal relatives, like his sister, turned on him. Tulsi Gabbard went from being a Democrat to an independent, now a Republican. She completely changed. She completely switched her positions on everything. Elon Musk, too. He switched as well. Because they see that President Trump means business. Because they see that President Trump wants to make America great again and keep it great. But never forget that the Democrats and the deep state tried to kill President Trump. And they're probably still trying to kill him today. So let's not be naive. That's why he needs people like myself, this network, and others to stand by him and stand with him and to support him and to back him and to help him. I contact Caroline Levitt on a daily basis. I'm in the White House briefing room. I'm the White House correspondent for this network, as you saw in the commercial or in the ad. It's a privilege to be there. As new conservative media, Caroline Levitt puts us first. She loves us because we report fairly and honestly. We don't give her dumb questions like Caitlin Collins from CNN. We report the news fairly. And if we have a question about something, we ask it in a way where we don't sound condescending to the president. It's about respecting the Oval Office. When I go in that White House briefing room, I respect the Oval Office. When I go on that White House lawn, I'm respecting the office. When I see President Trump's face, I respect him and I respect his office. That's why we are not fake news. We are not mainstream media. We never will be. We report things in real time. All this breaking news I got is from the White House. It's all breaking news from the White House. And I get it because I'm part of the new conservative media, and I will report it fairly and honestly to my viewers and so forth. But President Trump has every right to be pissed. Every right to keep attacking Joe Biden and Obama. Every right to keep attacking the previous administration because they left him with a mess. America was fine under him. When he left, everything was fine. And then Joe Biden comes in with Obama and ruins everything. Now President Trump is having to reverse every bad thing that Joe Biden has put forward and other people that worked under Joe Biden. That's why I will always stand with President Trump and support him, because he does it for the people, not for himself. He's not self-serving or self-righteous. He believes in we the people. God bless him. Coming up after the break, we're going to be getting into celebrity craziness. That's a new segment that I have. I attack celebrities that are crazy and try to identify themselves as something that they're not. So it's going to be a really interesting segment. That is coming up right after the break.
This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with Alexandra Levine Live on the America's Pulse Network. You are all in with Alexandra Levine. We are still waiting for someone from the White House to come out and tell us what transpired between President Trump and Vladimir Putin on that call today. We are here live at the White House. We're waiting for White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to come out and tell us about the updates of today, the call between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, what transpired in that call.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
Hello, everyone. Hello. This is Alexandra Levine Live with the America's Pulse Network. We are all in tonight with me, Alexandra Levine. Crazy celebrities and how they identify themselves. Now, last week on The Pulse, we talked about a crazy celebrity, Demi Lovato, who calls herself non-binary, but yet she married a guy. And we find that very odd because when you go in front of the priest or the rabbi, they say, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today with this man and this woman." But if she's identifying herself as non-binary, then what the hell does the rabbi or the priest call her? And when she has children, is she going to say, this is a girl, this is a guy, this is non-binary? What the hell is non-binary? It's like a new term. It's crazy. But of course, I'm bringing up the Kardashians, who are even more crazy than ever before. I don't like the Kardashians. They do a lot of things for money. They're self-serving people. Don't like them at all. But we have this crazy Kourtney Kardashian. She comes out as an autosexual. Now, at first, I thought this was a joke. A lot of people said it was fake news, but I looked it up. There's a big article about it on Reddit, and there's another article about it where she admits that she's autosexual. So, of course, people were like, well, does that mean she likes to have sex in cars? Does that mean she likes to put gasoline in her body? Like, what does autosexual mean? So I actually looked up the definition. People on my social media gave me the definition too. So autosexual means people are more attracted to themselves than to others. They enjoy pleasuring themselves more than others pleasure them. Now, they do have other partners in their life. I mean, Kourtney Kardashian is married to Travis from Blink-182, and they've had children together. But it means intense sexual attraction to themselves. So it's a form of masturbation, basically. It's masturbating. So she enjoys masturbating, touching herself, pleasuring herself more than someone else pleasuring her. And in a way, it's a form of narcissism. It's a total form of narcissism. But autosexual? I mean, what kind of term is this? To me, it's like a made-up term. It's so made up. All she has to say is, my name is Kourtney Kardashian. I'm a narcissist. I don't like when my husband touches me. I get off more when I pleasure myself and I use my vibrator. Like, that's me. That's all she had to say. But no, she has to make a big headline in calling herself autosexual. And again, Demi Lovato says she's non-binary. You have all these transgenders that are celebrity kids now. All the celebrity kids have transgender kids. That's like the newest thing now. That's the latest and greatest. It's insane. It's insane. Thank you, Shozilla. Yeah, he agreed with me. It's a form of narcissism. Yeah, it is. It's a total form of narcissism. But why can't she just come out and say that? Why can't she just come out and say, I'm Narcissus, which was a Greek god? Why can't she just come out and say that? No, she has to come out and say, I'm an autosexual, to get buzz, for people to look it up. And it's like insane. The Kardashians are insane. I agree with you, Shuzilla. These celebs are all brainwashed culties. They are. And they brainwash their children too. Because they push the gender reforming surgery onto their children. They push the CRT curriculum. A lot of these celebrity children, they either are homeschooled or they go to crazy liberal ass schools that teach them the worst of the worst. Or the celebrities themselves brainwash them to say, it's okay to be this is acceptable. It's okay to be that. It's okay to be a trans. It's okay to be non-binary. Again, what is Demi Lovato going to say when she has kids, if she does have kids? And how does her husband address her now? Does he address her as a woman or his non-binary wife? Or just as non-binary? And I know that the Kardashians do this for likes and clicks. Their show is actually tanking until Ryan Seacrest, who's the producer, said to the Kardashians, you got to do something outlandish. Somebody's got to turn into a woman here. They looked at Rob Kardashian first. He didn't want to do it. So they looked at now Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner became a man, became a woman. Became half trans to get more ratings for their show because their show is actually about to tank and go off the air permanently. So they had to do these radical things to get attention. Remember, Kim Kardashian did a whole sex tape with Brandy's brother. Brandy was like a singer and her brother was like a famous rapper or whatever. They did like a sex tape together. That's how she got famous. Paris Hilton too. I mean, Paris Hilton was famous through her family, the Hiltons, but she herself made it because she did sex tapes of herself that I think her family distributed. It's craziness. These celebrities are crazy. They do everything for attention. It's sick. It's disgusting. And I feel bad for Kourtney Kardashian's children. I mean, her baby daddy is a narcissist. Scott, I forgot his last name. He's a total narcissist. She had like 4 illegitimate children with the guy. And then the current guy that she's married to, Travis Barker from Blink-182, he just looks like Satan. I mean, I'm surprised they don't have vials of blood that they wear on a necklace. Like what Angelina Jolie did with Billy Bob Thornton. But we talked about this on the Pulse last week, how you have like J-Lo's kids are trans, Jamie Lee Curtis's daughters are trans, all these celebrity children are trans. That's like the new trend. Why does it have to be that way? Why do celebrity children have to be trans? Why are the celebrity parents allowing this, pushing this? And all it has to do with social media, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. You give these kids social media at a very early age. That's the first thing they click on. Because it's the liberal social media that pushes it, that pins it. It's the same thing with GoFundMe's and Give, Send, Goes. Instead of giving to veterans and people that are really suffering and kids that need help going to college, they push money for illegals and money for murderers, money for killers, money for convicted felons. It's crazy. It's very, very, very crazy. That's why it's so important that President Trump is back in the White House. That's why it's so important we have law and order. That's why it is so important that trans people aren't asking we, the taxpayers, to pay for their transgender surgeries in the military. Pete Hegseth has completely removed that from the military, removed the wokeness from the military. We have real men and real women now that are serving, that want to serve. I just got breaking news. Sean Parnell, who works underneath Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, he said the recruiting for the military is at record highs. More people want to serve the military under Pete Hegseth and under President Trump than ever before. And I've even met military men in the airport, and I say, thank you for your service. And I asked them, I said, do you feel better under Trump? And they're like, heck yeah. I said, you actually have a Secretary of Defense that gives a damn about you. They said, yes, he does. That's why the mainstream media and the liberal media hate him. That's why the deep state hates Pete Hegseth. Because he's doing what he said he was going to do. He said, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to just totally restart the military, make them strong. He works out with the guys. He goes to Poland. He goes to Czech Republic. He goes to Russia. He goes to all these different places. And he's doing push-ups with the military. I love that. We've never seen that. Well, I just want to remind everyone that June 14th, there is a huge event, parade at 6 p.m. down in D.C. It is to celebrate Flag Day, but also to celebrate President Trump's 79th birthday. I will be down there. There's an image of me and what I'll be wearing, my American flag dress. Damon Stroud will put that up. But I will be wearing an American flag dress. I encourage everybody. There I am. That's me. That's my American flag dress. That's my hair. I'll probably be wearing it like that. My makeup. That's one look that I do. I do multiple different looks. I do my hair straight. I do my hair wavy. I do my hair curly. I wear hair extensions. I wear everything. But yeah, that's me, guys. I'll be down there. Please wear your American flag gear down to DC. And when you go down there, please be safe. Also, speaking of veterans, we have our veteran, Seth Eisenberg, who is the host of Conservative Corner every Sunday night from 7 to 8:30 p.m. He had his first show with us. He's been in the hospital he was in the hospital for over a month. He's had multiple surgeries on his foot, but he's got bills to pay. Thank God the infection is out of his foot, but it's touch and go every day. And we really need to help him. He has a GoFundMe, Seth Eisenberg, the Conservative Corner. Please, guys, please go and donate. People have been donating $100, $150. That's the average. The goal is $25,000. The ultimate goal is $100,000. That is what we want. We want to give back to our veterans, not to murderers, not to illegals, not to convicted felons, but to Seth Eisenberg. And then, of course, my friend Allison Reedy. My friend Allison Reedy is hoping to have her son go to college. I think he was accepted. I think he's going. But going to college is very expensive. It's out-of-state tuition. He wants to go to one college in Utah, and we need to give back to him. Let's put up her GoFundMe. Or sorry, it's not a GoFundMe. It's a Give, Send, Go now. There we go. GiveSendGo.com/constitutional. Please follow Allison Reedy's Facebook group page, My Son on the Altar. It's a beautiful, phenomenal Facebook page. She just talks all about her son and God. And she's just such a great patriot, the way she's been fighting for her children, the way she's been fighting for her family. We love Allison. She's been a guest on our show, on my show multiple times. We love her. Please, guys, go to GiveSendGo.com/constitutional and donate to her son, Dylan. And guys, don't forget to follow us. We have a great show coming up tomorrow night. The Pulse. The Pulse is our newest show every Wednesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. It has gotten 20 to 40,000 views. We have our three hosts. We have Damon Galdo, Seth Eisenberg, myself, and also two special guests. It's been our guest, TimFazenbaker, as well as Elena Barbara from The Base Mother. It's a great show, great chemistry. We talk about different topics. Please come join us on The Pulse tomorrow night from 8 to 9 p.m. And don't forget, we have Damon Galdo with the Jersey Shore from 8 to 9 p.m. on Monday nights. And I think he does also his radio shows from 9 to 10 p.m. Friday nights, he's on from 8 to 9 p.m. And then he also does a repeat of his radio show from 9 to 10 p.m. on Friday. So Monday nights and Friday nights is the Jersey Shore with Damon Galdo. And also, don't forget to follow us on X at America's Pulse Network. At America's Pulse Network. We're on True Social now. At America's Pulse Network on Rumble. And we're going to be on Facebook pretty soon at America's Pulse Network. Don't forget to follow the rest of us. Seth on Sundays from 7 to 8:30 p.m. He's also on X and on Facebook under Seth Eisenberg. Don't forget to follow myself, Alexandra Levine, on Facebook, at Alexandra LEVI20 on X, at AR Levine 85 on Rumble, at AR Levine 85 on True Social, at AR Levine 85 on Instagram, and at LevineConsulting.com. For those of you who don't know, I own my own political consulting firm, LevineConsulting.co. That is LevineConsulting.co. I'm only working with people that support President Trump and his agenda, that want to move this country forward. And please, if you are interested, if you are a serious candidate, seriously thinking of running, please book a consultation with me today. Again, I am my own entity. I am not owned by anyone else. I am myself. LevineConsulting.co. I've had my political consulting firm for 2 years now. I've gotten multiple people in office, and I work on the state, local, state, and federal level, mostly state and federal levels. But we're going to be working in big races now. I'm working in big races in Florida, big races in New Jersey, big races in Virginia, and all over this country, big races in Maryland too, flipping these Democrat seats to Republican. We got to do it. We got to get these rhinos, never Trumpers, snowflakers out of leadership. We're going to primary those people out. And we got to get these hardcore socialist Democrats out of leadership as well, because they are detriments to our nation. But please, guys, follow us. And my producer's saying, give a quick overview of the Pulse tomorrow. I mean, we have like I said, we have hot topics. We're going to be talking more about the guy in Colorado. We're going to be talking more about celebrity morons and what they call themselves. I don't want to give it all away because I want it to be a surprise. But each one of our hosts and our guests are going to be talking about specific topics that are breaking news, and also stuff that you may not know, you may not hear from the mainstream media. Again, we are not the mainstream media. We are not fake news. We are the new conservative media at the White House. I am the White House correspondent for this network. And this has been a phenomenal hour. Thank you, guys. And the reason you listen and the reason you watch is you are no idiot.
Mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.